Hi everyone, thanks for joining me and welcome to part 2 of the XP Mega Lockdown video. We're still on lockdown in the UK, we're only allowed 1 hour's exercise a day and this is what I'm doing. Once again, there's a timestamp up there just to let you know what time the videos start, and you can choose your own particular videos or come back to them at a later date. So let's start off with some happy memories. A few years ago I got a phone call from a guy called Reg Mead and he said, "Hello, I'm Reg from Jersey. Me and my friend found the Jersey Horde back in 2012 and we've been searching the Horde spot for several years with different machines, but we haven't tried the XP Deus. Would you guys like to come over to Jersey and try your Deus over the fine spot?" And we went over to Jersey and we met up with Reg and Richard and had a fantastic weekend, and they've been great friends ever since.
It was interesting because I contacted Gary of XP to ask him if this new machine we'd heard about was as sensitive as we were told, because we had a problem where we were not finding in the scattered area many of the smaller coins, and that it was that much harder to find any of the stators. We just wondered if it would give us that extra edge. And yeah, right away, Gary said, "I'll come over," he said, "and I'll do a demonstration and we'll go to the spot, etc." And it was quite amazing. Within minutes of being on site, we realised that this machine was finding bits and pieces that we had not been even near before.
And even with our training, we had some training there with Gary, and it was great because lo and behold, there's some more coins. So we found another 8 coins, and we haven't found these before. So it just shows how versatile and how brilliant the machine is. It's been a really good day today.
Yeah, I was very confident we hadn't missed much, but one of the other things that impressed me so much, I've had, through my working life, I've had a few falls off roofs and I've got 2 dodgy shoulders, and when I'm using the machine I've got to keep changing hands every 2 or 3 minutes, and this was another thing with this machine that impressed me. There was no aches and pains, it was so light and balanced, perfect for the job we were doing.
There we are. Another one.
That's interesting. What have we got?
Ah, there we go.
Another one.
Another one.
They're getting better down here, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's a nice
You
one.
see his cheek again. It's another little class 2.
Yeah.
I can see him.
Yeah. There we are, another beauty.
Hey, smashing. 3. Perfect.
Yep. So when we get to the lab on Sunday, we'll give those a wash, and there'll be so much detail on them, unbelievable.
They will, won't they?
Yeah.
Gorgeous, eh?
Yeah, another good one.
Yep, another one. There he is. I can see it from here.
It's there.
Ah, yes. That looks like another little stator.
Hey.
Camera.
Yep, another little stator. There he is. Another little class 2. Coriolite.
Little class 2, Ken.
And then
There's another one. I've got a funny feeling that you're talking to 2 amateurs here, because how can we miss so many of those with all the different machines we've tried?
Because you're amateurs, Reg.
You can
we only found 70,000, that's all.
There you go, my friend.
Brilliant. Look at that.
Another one.
Do you want to have a go and see if you can find
Thanks for
one?
letting me have a go with the Deus on your fantastic side. You know. I'm going to stand over there and just admire.
Can I have a go?
This one has been hit differently. Look, you've got the bore shining.
Great times indeed. Jersey's a lovely place, and if you get a chance when all this madness is over, go over to Jersey and have a look at the Horde. It's fantastic. There's lots of other Hordes over in Jersey too. So okay, our next video is a little bit technical. XP Deus, the XY screen or the Horseshoe. What's your favourite? Well, this little video runs through some interesting comparisons with different targets, showing the Horseshoe and XY screen in action. Let's start off by talking about the XY screen. How does that work? Well, you've got two axes. You've got a top to bottom and a left to right. Top to bottom represents coke, wet sand and some small gold. Left to right represents bad ground, hot rock or ferrite. And your desired targets will fall somewhere in between that range. Non-ferrous will be on the right, ferrous will be on the left. The XY screen, what information can we see? Well, at the top there, we've got the battery meter. And this will change when we go over a target. This will turn into an ID meter. And this at the top is your ground phase reading. This is the XY screen. Everything to the left is ferrous, everything to the right is non-ferrous. And also you get a series of loops depending on what sort of target it is, normally big iron. And along the bottom there, we've got the standard option, menu and GB features. The Horseshoe graphic is very different to the XY screen. There's a lot more information. Once again, at the top there, you've got the battery indicator, the program you're using, you've got a clock, and you've got a discrimination bar there, which greys out depending on how much discrimination you're using. As you can see, we're using program number 9 hot, which doesn't use any discrimination, so the bar is completely open. On the right there is a mineralization bar, or we can also call it the ground strength meter. This is your adjusted ground balance, and this is the ground phase reading. In the center you've got your target ID, and below that is what frequency you're using. Then you've got the Horseshoe screen. To the right is non-ferrous, to the left is ferrous, and in the center there, that little bullseye, that's a target overload screen. And underneath you have options, menu and GB, just like on the XY screen. So let's assume you like Deus fast, but you prefer to use the XY screen. How do you change the Horseshoe graphic to the XY graphic? Firstly, go to options, configuration, profile, and then just select the minus button or the plus button, depending on what graphic you want. Here it says XY, that's perfect, so we click the back button, and now we've got Deus fast with an XY graphic. There's no need to save anything because this gets remembered into the global memory. So next time you turn the Deus on, it will remember that Deus fast is now using an XY screen. Let's crack on and test some targets and let you see both screens side by side. The targets I'm using are hot rock, nail, coke, very thin foil, slightly bigger foil, a silver hammered coin, a larger silver hammered coin, a large milled silver coin, a rusty bottle cap, a modern bottle cap and some misshaped iron. Right, let's crack on and start off with the hot rock. As you can see, that's a left-right orientation. Simulates ground. Now let's try the nail. Small nail. And as you can see, the XY screen is showing it as being ferrous, but the Horseshoe graphic is showing it as non-ferrous. And this is because I'm using the hot program, which doesn't use any discrimination. It uses -6.4. So everything it sees will register as non-ferrous. Now the way to make ferrous indicate to the left is by introducing discrimination. Let me demonstrate. So we've got no ferrous reading. If we wanted to see a ferrous reading, we need to introduce some discrimination. I'm going to set it to about 5. +5, that is. Okay, so now we're using +5 discrimination with the hot program. We can now see the discrimination bar is slightly greyed out on the iron range. Now let's pass the same nail over the coil and see how the horseshoe reacts. Primarily it's going onto the ferrous range. Let's give it a little bit more discrimination. 6. Once again, the nail. It's completely eliminated the sound and it's showing ferrous. -6.4, an open discrimination. Let's compare the two programs side by side. The hot and the day is fast, both using the horseshoe graphic. And now the coke. That's a soft signal with a top to bottom orientation. Just a quick note about coke and hot rock. Hot rock is discriminated by the ground balance circuit. Coke is rejected by the discrimination circuit. They're two totally different items. Hot rock's ground, coke is like coal really. Now for the wafer thin piece of foil. Very similar to the coke reading, but as you can see by the XY, it's slightly to the right. Now let's try a stronger piece of foil. It's a bit more of a positive signal. Moving on, the small silver hammered coin. That's better. That's giving a good positive signal there. A nice solid XY screen and the bigger silver hammered coin, and you can hear the tone increasing. The silver milled coin. That's a very strong signal with a high tone. Can you see the XY is almost right round to flat? Now for the rusty bottle cap. No problem there. It's definitely a ferrous target. But now listen to the more modern bottle cap. Because it's not rusty and it's still the desirable shapes, shall we say, it makes this quite a difficult target to reject at times. The misshaped iron, once again it's got a loop in it which detectors tend to have difficulty ignoring. The horseshoe graphic is jumping around, but I think the XY screen's nailed it. The small silver hammered coin. See what happens to the target IDs as I go further away to simulate a deeper target. Here we go, close to the coil. A nice strong signal and a good target reading. As I move away, and closer again. When using the XY screen, you can adjust how sensitive the line is to particular targets, shallow or deep, small or large. And this is called the zoom feature. It's accessed by pressing and holding the pinpoint button until the zoom feature pops up, and then you can adjust it using the plus or minus buttons. The default sensitivity is number 6. Personally, I like to set it at number 3 because I only want confident targets to activate the line. Small or deep targets, I tend to trust the audio. As you can see, the XY screen is a lot less cluttered. It's good for identifying big iron, deep iron, hot rock, coke. It's a simple to use graphic. Whereas the Horseshoe gives you a lot more information. I think it's all down to personal preference on this one. Well, I hope that was of interest to you. One thing I do like about the Horseshoe screen, it's got a visual mineralization bar, whereas the XY screen doesn't. But there's a really easy shortcut to access a mineralization bar directly from the XY screen. I really like using the XY screen on the dais, but I really wish it had a mineralization bar so I could see how mineralized the ground is. But there's a quick tip here, how to get the mineralization bar up quickly. All you have to do is press the right hand button on the dais menu to bring up the ground balance screen, and you'll see the mineralization bar on the right hand side, so you can quickly check how mineralized your ground is, and then just press the back button to get back into the detect screen. So now it's time for something a little bit different. How about freshwater hunting with the XP dais and the ORX? Well, Jim and Elle over in the USA are specialists in this field, and they've got some top tips they want to share with you.
Hi, I'm Jim Kachiver. This is my friend Elle Carpenter. We're the Minnesota Beach Boys. We like to water detect, and we've got our gear here, some of our finds here, and we want to tell you about them.
My name is Elle Carpenter. I've been land detecting for about 18 years, and I started doing water detecting when I met Mr. Kachiver here, and he taught me all the moves, and so I've been doing that for about 4 years now, and loving every bit of it.
I've been detecting 26 years. This will be my 13th summer season of water detecting. We're wanting to present this to you because we're eager to get into the water, but the lake behind us, the ice just left about a week ago, so it's a little cold to get in.
It's an awesome hobby. It's a lot easier than land detecting for us old people. You don't have to bend over. There's no bending over when you're out water hunting.
That's
you
true.
lift everything with the scoop. It's easy on your body.
Okay, we've got our gear here, and it's stuff that we've developed that we like to use over a period of years. When I first started out detecting, I wore shorts, tennis shoes, and a t-shirt. Problem with that is you can't stay in the water very long and you get numb. So we've advanced. We use wetsuits now.
I like the full wetsuit. You don't end up getting no bugs on you, no leeches, no bloodsuckers. It keeps you warm all day so you can stay in the water. We wear boots, neoprene boots. They're like booties, they're soft soles. Jim has a pair of hard soles over here. They both work good.
Mine are like tennis shoes on the bottom.
But they keep your feet warm. They keep your feet from getting cut up because there is glass and everything in the lake. And when you get done detecting at the end of the day, you should always double rinse out your zippers. Because you get sand in them, they will not open back up or close the next day you go out. So it's very good to rinse them out with fresh water. We take our XP dais. I've had this in the water now quite a few times, just shallow water. But I just invested in a water kit, and we plan on hitting it real soon.
Yeah, I just bought the new ORX with the high frequency coil, and I'm really excited to try that one out in the water. We got the water kits for the detectors to make sure they're okay. We've got a couple different examples of scoops. Elle, you can tell them about yours.
My scoop here, it's a carbon fiber handle, which is really nice to have. You don't end up breaking it all the time. It's a large scoop. It's called the Stealth Extreme. It's held up through the years for me. I've only had this carbon fiber for probably 2 years, and I've never broken it. I don't think it'll ever break. So it's a good investment, definitely. Jim has one of these also.
Yeah, we both have them. I have this little one. As you can see, it's kind of bent at about a 20 degree, 30 degree angle. It used to be straight up, so when Elle talks about breaking things, if you've got light gear, you'll break it. Wooden handles, you'll bend them. So when this bent like this, I put this brace on. I made my own modification. And actually, I like this one too. It has its place. I got some foam on it so it floats, don't drop to the bottom of the lake.
Fine bags. We use our fine bags. They're mesh all through the whole bottom. We usually put the garbage in the big part and then put the goodies that we find into the small part.
Yeah. One of the things you find a lot of is cans, and they're usually filled with sand. So when you put them in here, because you don't want to waste a lot of time shaking and washing the sand out, it'll get out of the bag and it's not a problem as you wade around. I do a little differently. I got a little goodie bag that I carry to put all the goodies in. Elle puts it in his pouch.
I put it in my little sealed pouch here all the time. But then sometimes you got to come to shore and dump the garbage a couple times because there is a lot of garbage in our lakes. But we like cleaning them up. And we usually do spend the whole day when we do get out.
Yeah.
Jim comes all the way from up north down detecting, so he likes to get a full day, and even if it gets dark.
we kind of have a circuit of about 50 beaches that we cover in the summertime. So some days we could travel 100, 150 miles one way to a beach and then back. That's not uncommon. We usually hit 3-4 beaches in that certain circuit that we follow for the day. So do they ever get cleaned out? Well, they get less and less, but they get replenished too. And the lake we're on, this particular beach down the shoreline here, that I've hunted it 10 years and we're still pulling stuff out of there. So it's like a park or anything else. It may get less and less, but it never gets hunted out. All the codes of ethics of land detecting apply to water detecting as well. You know, get your permission, take your trash, be courteous of the people, and you'll be a lot more people at beaches too. So it's important to be courteous and share with people, kind of, if they're interested, tell them what you do and show them a little bit of what you find. It's a good way to promote and present a good image of this hobby that we love. Things to be aware of when you're hunting a beach. We kind of, on a new one, we kind of, I guess you'd say, cherry pick it. And to some extent, you're always kind of cherry picking it if there's other swimmers there, because you don't want to be close to them. You try to avoid where they're at. So you don't work a real tight grid. You work in an area around and around them. And as they move off to a different area, then you can move in where they were swimming and check that area. It's the way we do it anyway.
Definitely.
You'll always have a posse of kids come up and want to help you dig and follow you around, and you can kind of educate them and tell them to go ask their parents to buy them a metal detector. I've done that a few times, and moms come and ask me how much they cost.
Definitely. And then another thing, you always tell the kids that your partner has the gold in his pocket.
Go
Then they all go over there and bug him. But
little secrets of the sport.
And then when we do find something nice in the water, like a ring or some kind of jewelry, we never holler out, "Hey, we got a ring, Jim." We got little signals. We always do this for a ring. "Hey, Jim," and then or this for an earring or this for a necklace. So we never say it out loud, just so you don't attract everybody over to you.
Yeah. Because right away somebody will say, "Oh, I lost that."
Yep.
And you know, darn well they hadn't. But and now you want to know about the finds. What do we find out there on the beaches? Typically, we find what you find on land, but I think you find a lot more jewelry. You find coins, you find trash, you find odds and ends things, lots of keys, people swimming with their car keys in their pockets, you find cell phones, all of which you find on land too. But the jewelry is concentrated. Elle and I have these display cases sitting in front of us here. There's over 500 rings in those cases total.
We'll also show you how to pinpoint. A lot of our lakes are really dark and you can't see where your coil is. So we have a little trick of how we pinpoint them, just so you can mark it and dig. Some lakes are super clear, you can see your coil down there and you can easily pinpoint it and mark it. But a lot of our lakes, even if there's a little ripple on the water, you can't see down in it. So that makes a big deal if it's windy out or if it's calm out on seeing your coil. We hope to have a lot more videos this summer. We're going to be doing a lot of water hunting, and we can't take, I mean, for these XP daises, I mean, they go so deep in the water and the sand. I've dug wheat pennies probably 18 inches deep that I've cleared out with other machines and then took the dais in there and it found them. So I know it's a good machine. It goes deep and we can't wait to use them.
I got one thing I'd like to add. We kind of have friendly competition in what we find. So I think it was the first year Elle was water detecting with me. He says, "What's the most rings you ever found in a summer?" I said, 73. He says, "Well, I'm going to find 75. Yep. How many did you find that summer?"
111.
111.
111 rings. 38 of them were gold. That was a really high percentage, so I think that's really awesome. Yeah.
Thanks guys, that was a brilliant video, really interesting. ORX now, but staying on the water theme. What's the ORX like on wet sand? Well, I think the best program you can use with the ORX on wet sand is the Goldfield program. And here's how to set it up. I just want to demonstrate how the ORX works on the wet sand. The dry sand's not a problem because you can use all your conventional inland settings. The first thing I do here on CoinFast is press and hold the hashtag button so the word salt comes up. Now this changes the ground balance range to compensate for the wet sand. Now it's always good to ground balance the machine, but the salt mode does a pretty good job. It's pretty much stopped. And as you'll see there, 24, 24 corresponding numbers. And when I detect, you'll see the 24 come up on the right hand side. There you go. Now we will get 20s coming up on the target ID screen. We need to ignore that for a while. Apologies, it's a little bit windy at the moment, so as you can hear, the ORX is running pretty smoothly, although a little bit twitchy. So there's one adjustment I'm going to make to this to try and settle it down. As you can see there on the left hand side of the screen, it's saying 24 on the ground balance. I'm just going to use the plus button just to raise it up a couple of notches and hopefully settle it down a bit. And there it is, it's perfectly smooth now. We've just got the odd little bit of feedback coming through. This beach is particularly noisy. There is a lot of mineral in this beach for some reason, I don't know why. Now if I wanted to settle it down a little bit more, all I have to do was drop the sensitivity down to about 86. And there we go. Well, that's my settings for the ORX on the coin fast mode. You can use coin deep as well, but there may be one or two little adjustments which you need to do if you're using the coin deep mode. But I've got a better program, one I love using on the wet sand. The program I'm going to use is the Goldfield mode. Program number 1, gold. But you'll hear straight away that this is bonkers. Look at this. First of all, I've got to select the salt mode in the ground balance by pressing the hashtag key. And there it is, salt's come up on the screen. Press the pinpoint button once to ground balance it. Now it's turned into a positive. We're still not there yet, we've got a little way to go. The adjustment now you need to make is the reactivity. Reactivity is 2. I'm going to go up to 3, and now we're going to re-ground balance again. And there it is, ground balanced. One more adjustment guys, coming down. Disc IAR, I'm not going to use iron rejection on this beach, I'm going to rely on the numbers. Iron volume, I'm going to leave that, it doesn't matter. Threshold, let's introduce threshold to 3. So we got that carrier in the background. Can you hear it, that hum? If I turn it up a little bit more, you'll hear it. There you go. So 3's perfect. That's all I need to do. I'm not going to even lower the sensitivity from 95. I'm going to use this gold mode, 14 kHz, salt. Reactivity, I've knocked it up to 3 because that calms it down. I've got a good ground balance on it and I'm ready to go. Negative signal. Disc IAR, let's turn it up to 5, see if that makes any difference. So it's not a rejection thing. All we have to do now really is dig one. Let's dig one and see what it is. And there it is. It's very much like a hot rock. That's where your negative signal is coming from. These pesky rocks. I'm sure there's probably loads of beaches that haven't got these, but this is a particularly nasty beach. It's very stony and it's quite mineralised, I think. This is quite a solid signal, although it's a little bit faint. Going down a fair way. I wonder what it is. Oh, did I see something there? There it is, look. 20 pence a piece. Look how deep it was. That's down there. Excellent. Well, we found something. That's a bonus. Here's a quick tip if you're using your MI6 pinpointer on the wet sand. You may find when it's in contact with the sand, it will give a signal. So all you have to do is press the button once while it's in contact with the sand to tune it. Hear it? Just press the button once, and now you've tuned the wet sand out. Another one of those reverse signals. Don't waste your time. Wah wah, wah wah. Worth a look? I think so. Solid sound. We're out. There we go. It's a coin. It's a pound coin, look. Look at the state of that. Pound from the ground. Give it a shine up, look. There it is. Shame it's not spendable these days. They've just gone on to the newer type pound coin, but as you can see, a nice signal, good depth. The ORX is just absolutely fine on the wet sand. Well, that's the ORX on the wet beach. Takes a little bit of getting used to, and don't forget to press that hashtag button and get the ground balance enabled for salt. Okay, so let's have a nice little treasure story now. Not so long ago I met up with Dan Stevenson, and he was uncovering a lovely hoard of silver denarii. So over to you, Dan. Today I'm in the West Country of England. I'm in Wales in Somerset with a group called the Southern Detectorists. I've caught up with a guy called Dan Stevenson who had an amazing find yesterday. Dan, tell me a bit about it.
So set off into the fields as normal, picking up the usual finds on the way, walked into one field, third signal, and yeah, eventually I've come down to Horde, and it was within the first hour.
Really? So you're using the XP, well done.
Yeah, and your new program as well, which was all good.
Oh, the sifter program.
Yeah, first
brilliant.
proper day out with it.
So when you got the signal, obviously you dug down.
Yeah.
Did you go straight on top of the Horde? Was there any iron on the target? Or?
There was a couple of bits of lead, but they were deep. They were, I'd say, 10 inches. First 2 bits of lead come up, broken. So removed one, checked, another bit of lead in there. Check the hole once more before I filled it back in, and still a signal. And put my knife in, turn it over, and out popped my first lot of denarii.
So I see you've got a few coins there from the, these are actually from the Horde site, are they?
Yeah, these probably for the first 2 scoops out of the hole. I think there's about 8 different emperors in there. So, and obviously there's still a lot more in the hole. So
yeah, and they're all silver denarii I see there, and some really nice ones. The coins are still in the hole. We're waiting for the archaeologists to turn up now, and hopefully we should get some live digs as the Horde is uncovered. Right, I'm with Bob Croft, a county archaeologist for the Somerset branch. He's been helping excavate this lovely silver denarii Roman hoard. So Bob, I think the guys done the right thing here, didn't they, by calling you in?
Well, it's been a very good example of when you find something, there's always that temptation to get straight in. But if you can hold that back just for an hour and then stop and understand the context, that's exactly what the archaeologists are encouraged, and that is identified in the code for responsible metal detecting, and that's what they did here, and hence I'm here now to help to do it archaeologically.
It's really gone well, hasn't it? Everything's gone by the book.
It's been a grand job, you know, we've got a lot done, been recorded with care. It takes extra time, several hours extra in fact, but you can then understand the context. We can see it's part of another Roman deposit, and there's a little collection of coins that were probably in a cloth bag or a vessel of some sort, but it's not a pot. The pot edges have gone, if there were any pots there. Basically it looks like it's been in a container, but it's not a ceramic container.
So are you pleased the way the treasure act's gone with archaeologists and metal detectors so far?
It's a challenge every time. It is a challenge every time. But if detectorists follow the code, report in so that we know what's been found where, and they get the local finds liaison officer from the Portable Antiquities scheme to help out, to identify, to record, to understand, it means that information is gathered. Knowledge is not lost. And that's what we want to see happen.
And today is a perfect example, isn't it? It's just textbook.
We're doing very well, and the finds liaison officer's here, but we do need to go and have a look in another corner now where they found something else.
Possibly a Roman coffin.
Well,
we'll have to wait and see.
Let's go and have a look.
Thanks very much. Fantastic, what a lovely story, and well done, Dan. Okay, let's go to the ORX now and do a little bit of ORX top tips. Yeah, this video just goes through some interesting ORX top tips. Some of the tips apply to the XP dais. You'll notice the ground balance tip applies to the dais, and some other tips as well. So let's get over to the field and have a little talk about the XP ORX. One top tip, especially if you're searching through stubble, is use the arm strap. Just make sure your arm can go in and out really easily. It doesn't have to be tight, and this just stops the inertia when swinging through stubble. It really does help. Give it a try. So as I said in the previous video, on this particular field, coin deep isn't very settled. It's a little bit spitty and chatty, so we've opted to go for coin fast. So how do I get coin fast to be a little bit more spicy? How can I run the machine a little bit more edgy? The first thing I do, now these are only my personal preferences here, I'd go into the menu, into disk, and I'd drop it down from the factory preset 7 to 5.5. And this is making the machine a little bit more edgy. You know those 50-50 targets, it kind of cleans them up. But listen out for that iron buzz. Now secondly, I drop it down to sensitivity, factory preset 90. I'd bump it up a little bit, 95. And just see how the machine feels. it's still settled, so I know I can go a little bit more. 98, I'm getting a little bit of EMI coming in here, but don't worry about that too much, because the EMI tends to come in when you've stopped swinging, but when you start swinging again, it goes. So 98, 99 maximum. I'd say this machine was very, very usable at these settings. Let's drop onto a subject that confuses a lot of people. There's been a lot of talk about it, but we still get asked the same questions, and that subject is ground balance. Now on the ORX there's two ways of ground balancing. There's pumping using fast grab, and there's manual adjustment using the plus and minus buttons. Well, that's all fair and well, but if you ground balance when you don't need to, you're kind of wasting your time. You're confusing things when they don't need confusing. Now along the top there you've got a mineralisation bar. In the UK you see perhaps 2-3 bars, which is indicating there's not a great deal of mineralisation. There's not a sufficient enough ground echo to warrant the bars going any higher. And this is telling you, don't bother about ground balancing, because the factory default on this machine is 88, and it's perfect for most of your inland searching. So what happens if your bars go right to the top, which indicates you've got highly mineralised ground? Well, then you can ground balance to get a little bit more extra performance out of your machine. The numbers correlate to the mineralisation bar. High bar, trust the numbers. Low bar, don't trust the numbers. It's as simple as that. So let's run through the ground balance setup and show you the pitfalls if you get it wrong. Here we go. We're swinging the machine, and you can see we've got 3 bars up there on the mineralisation bar. The ground's not very mineralised at all. You can see there, that's my adjusted number, 87, and that's my actual ground reading. Now if you see dash dash appearing, it means your machine is defaulting to the default number, which is 8788. Now how do we get a ground balance? Well, the easiest way is to pump the coil, and as it reaches the ground, hit the pinpoint button like this. So we're going up and down. We should generate a number. There we go. Hit it once, and you'll see the 2 numbers are now corresponding. You may think that's all well and good, but because this is ground balanced at 77, it means that we've gone below the shake value, which is, you've made the coil very hot. Can you see? Can you hear it? So if you're ground balancing on stubble, you're going to get false signals every time the coil hits the stubble. So if you're ground balancing, try and make sure your terrain has not got a load of rocks, obstacles, things like that, because if you're below that shake value, you're going to get a load of false signals. So how do I get that to factory default? Well, that's easy. I use the plus and minus buttons. So if I go up a little bit now, and you'll see that's gone to dash dash. Well, that happens if the coil stops motion. If you start motion again, your numbers will be generated. There they are. Anyway, I've gone off on a tangent. Right, let's go up to a higher ground balance. Can you hear the shake value's almost gone now? Almost gone. Completely gone at 88. No meter reading at all. It's worth a go, definitely. Quite a deep one. As usual, let's go in with a probe and see what we got. Nothing. Let's have some more out and have another go. Yay, there is. Can you see it? Just there, look. Oh, it's a button again. I thought it was a coin. You wouldn't believe it, the last hole I dug, I left a pinpoint probe over there. So we get that in a minute. Let's sort this target out, then we get the pinpoint probe. I think that's some kind of little minim or something like that. Don't know. Let's look after that one. Right, back to the problem in hand. We've lost the pinpoint probe. It's over on the last hole we dug. So with the ORX, because I've got it paired, let me put that little coin thing away. Because I've got it paired, I can use the research mode, and this is really simple. Let me show you how it's done. First of all, I go into pinpointer, press select, press research, press select. Can you hear that? It's over there. How cool is that? And that's the last hole we dug there, look. Job done. How would we describe this signal? It's kind of forced, isn't it? It's kind of an aggressive signal. Still got to be worth a dig. It was on the spade, look. Come on, be something good. Well, you're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this. Now, listen, that's only a button. Or some sort of fastener, perhaps. No, I'm wrong on both counts. It's a brooch. I can see the little catch plate there. So it's a brooch. How cool is that? Could even be Roman, Saxon, could be anything. We've heard on a few of these signals, it's got the iron buzz with it. If you didn't want to hear the iron tone, it's really easy to switch off. All you go is into menu, iron volume, and just turn it off. And now you won't hear any iron low tone with your signal. Personally, I like to keep it on because I like that extra bit of information, and I find it helps when identifying some difficult iron. If your ORX comes with an HF coil, and you've just unboxed it, you're going to have to build this coil up, and that involves putting it on the lower stem, threading the wire through and connecting the battery. Now there's a video showing the exact procedure, because you can get this wrong, especially with these top hat connectors. And if you're not 100% sure on how to connect this all together, just pop over to the XP YouTube channel, where we've got a video showing the exact procedure step by step. Frequencies. What frequency do you use? Typically the higher frequencies are better for the smaller targets, and the lower frequency the bigger targets. But this isn't always the case. I mean, with this HF coil, your low frequency is 14 kilohertz, and that's more than capable of finding the tiniest targets. I would say the higher frequency is more of a specialist frequency, so use that one with caution, because you may be pestered with tiny little microscopic fragments. Okay, they could be cut quarters or fine jewellery, you never know. So this is why I don't go into frequencies in such a big way. It's down to the user. By all means, have a little experiment, see what you're comfortable with. And also, some frequencies are better behaved on certain fields. So quite often your field will dictate what frequency to use. And let's not forget EMI. EMI is a massive problem when it comes to different frequencies. Always choose a clean frequency depending on the EMI. For example, you may have a pinpointer what interferes with your machine every time you turn it on. We're not all lucky enough to have MI6s paired to the ORX. So if your pinpointer makes a load of noise every time you turn it on, it's going to drive you mad. So just find a sub-frequency by making fine adjustments with your pinpointer switched on. Once you've found a clean channel, just save that program under user 5 or user 6, so the next time you turn on your ORX with your pinpointer, you won't experience EMI problems from it. Another thing people ask a lot is, how do they remove the RC from the stem? Some people pull it back, pull it forward, but there's a right and a wrong way how to do this. All you have to do is push up with a thumb movement, so the RC is coming off this way. So just simply push up with your thumb and it's out. Well, that's it for my video. Thanks for watching, if indeed you still are, and I'll see you on the next Skill School video. Staying on the ORX and Deus theme, take a look at your screen. Is it a little bit dark? Well, if you've got a dark screen on your XP, it can be a really easy fix, just a simple adjustment. Here's how to do it. If after you've made an update to your Deus and the screen appears to be dark in areas, that's an easy fix. All you have to do is go to Options, scroll down to Configuration, select Configuration, scroll down until you see Contrast, and then just use the minus button to lower the numbers, and you see that black area will disappear and your screen will be nice and clear again. You don't have to save the contrast setting, it's saved into what we call the global memory. So when you turn your machine on and off again, these settings will be remembered. Back onto the ORX now. If you're new to the ORX, you'll notice you've got two main settings, coin fast or coin deep. What one do you use? This little video might help you out a bit. So how do I know when to use coin fast or coin deep? Well, that's really easy. Just ask the machine. The machine will tell you exactly what settings to use. Just listen to the feedback. Here we're using coin fast. And it's pretty well behaved. Now let's go back and switch to coin deep. Straight away I can hear coin deep is a little bit too powerful for this particular site. The machine's told us that coin fast is probably going to be our better option. Let's give coin fast another try and let you hear it again. And we're back to coin fast again. Much more stable, much more usable. Now, we all want to get the best out of our detectors, and sure, we all want to go deep, but sometimes our site conditions don't allow it. So based on this very quick test, I know that coin fast is the best option for this field, and then I can make further adjustments as I go. XP Deus now. Do you ever use a notch feature? If you do, post below. Now the notch feature here in the UK, we don't very often use it. We tend to use just your normal discrimination modes. But the notch feature can sometimes offer an advantage when you've got a particularly tricky target you want to eliminate. But it can also be used to accept certain targets. Let's have a little talk about the XP Deus and the notch feature. What does the notch do? Well, it's very similar to discrimination. As we all know, the discrimination is used to reject unwanted targets. But the nature of discrimination is if you set the discrimination level to a set number, everything below that number will also be rejected. Notch allows you to choose a snapshot of the discrimination range. You can reject a very small window, and it's really easy to do. Personally, for me, I like to use notch to eliminate a troublesome target. Now it's really got to be troublesome. The field's got to be covered with this certain type of target. Now notch is best used when your troublesome target is shallow. Don't rely on notch for deep targets, because obviously as targets go deeper, the target ID changes, therefore your notch range will change. The target in particular I'm talking about is coke. Now in the UK we have lots and lots of coke on certain fields and it can become a real nuisance. So here's how to reject coke, and you can apply this to certain other unwanted targets. Before you start applying Knotch, you need to know what target ID number the said target comes in at. Now this is a particularly difficult piece of coke because it comes in at 13 to 28, so it's a wide range. Quite often some coke just come in at about 26, 27, so you can narrow the window there. So okay, let's put this on the ground and see what sort of target ID we get. As you can see, the target ID is bouncing around a little bit, but in all essence, it's, let's say, between 22 and 27. So that's the range we're going to set, 22 to 27. So to apply the Knotch, it's really easy. Just go into menu, scroll down until you come to the Knotch feature. There it is. Press Expert, and you're presented with a flashing threshold 2, and you've also got threshold 1. So what we're concentrating on here is our top bar. We're not interested in the other bars at the moment. That's if you want to put other Knotch levels in, so from a different range, but we're just going to start off this video with just the one level. Personally, I think it's easier to switch from threshold 2 to threshold 1, and I'll explain why now. So let's go threshold 1, and we know the Knotch is at 28. Our top range is 28, which is good. We've got that on 28 there. Now if we press the back button, it will wipe a dark area, and let's say 20 there. So we've got rejected from 20 to 28. It's a very small block, perfect, and it says it there on the screen, 20 to 28. So what that should do is not totally eliminate the unwanted target, it should just give it more of an iron sound. It will break it up. So as you can see, by applying a little bit of Knotch, we can change the identity of a certain target. Now why didn't I have that Knotch so it completely eliminated the target? Well, because I'm frightened it will eliminate other wanted targets. It will bring good targets into that range. Already by eliminating sort of 26, 28, we're running the risk of removing small jewellery or some small hammered coins on edge. So use Knotch with caution. Now how do I want to adjust the Knotch once it's been set? Well, that's easy. You just go into threshold 1 and threshold 2 and make the necessary adjustments. And if you want to remove Knotch completely, you just go into threshold 2 and wind it back all the way to 0, and as you'll see, the line will completely disappear and your Knotch will be turned off. It's also worth noting that using a higher frequency will hit harder on targets like coke, but the advantage is they give a much tighter target ID range, so the said target may be a little bit easier to eliminate. And also wet coke can give different numbers to dry coke, so bear that in mind when you're making your adjustments. But as I've said earlier, only use Knotch as a last resort. So why would I never notch out shotgun cartridges? Well, shotgun cartridges fall within such a wide range of target IDs depending on their age and the construction quality. You might be lucky and have a certain area which has got exactly the same shotgun cartridge littered all across the surface. That's fair game, you can notch those out. But shotgun cartridges in general, don't try and notch them out, because you will lose good targets. But I can understand guys who search for parks, Knotch will be an excellent addition to the armoury. For example, you may be just coin hunting looking for big silver and you want to eliminate certain targets such as ring pulls and foil. Now using Knotch will be perfect in this scenario. But Knotch can be used in its reverse form. How about we use Knotch to only accept a certain target? This is really easy. Let's say you're searching a football field or something and you only want to search for a particular target. A pound coin, a euro, a dollar, whatever. You can set your Knotch parameters to only accept one particular target range, so you're using Knotch in reverse, so that's quite a useful feature. Well, that's my quick talk about the Knotch feature. Well, that's it guys, I think we got one more video left and I thought we'd end on a happy note. Friends out together detecting, having some nice food, having a laugh. Something for us to look forward to once this COVID madness is over. So, I think this is Belarus. My apologies guys if I've got the location wrong. And this is the Belarus rally. Thanks for watching everyone, if indeed you still are. I hope this has given you some entertainment, and I'd just like to say thanks for supporting XP. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the XP channel so you don't miss a future video. I've got some other videos over on my Skill School channel if you want to have a wade through them. All the links will be below. But until then guys, please stay safe and we'll see you on the other side.